What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Prospero.ai stock market live stream. A little bit of housekeeping as we begin the stream today. If you lose my audio at any moment throughout the stream today, let me know in the comments quickly because my mic for some reason didn't charge up, so we're pretty low battery starting today. So if I cut out at any point, let me know and I'll switch back over to my computer audio, but we will try out the mic at first. Secondly, I've added a link for the full weekly earnings calendar in our YouTube description. And we are going to talk about Tesla, which I'll get into just a moment. But if you guys want to look through the full list of earnings and check out any yourselves that you want us to bring up on stream today, feel free to click that link and give it a look-see and then comment whatever you want in the chat. Welcome back in here, everybody. Hopefully you had a great weekend. The markets are in the green at the moment, ripping higher. The VIX is down 10% right now. Wow. QQQ up 1.33%. SPY up 1%. Dow approaching 1%. The Russell approaching 2% in the green on the day. I see Mario. Good morning, all from CDMX in the chat. Good morning, Mario. JC, howdy. In the green so far today. So we have people in our YouTube chat already. Welcome in, everybody. Hit that like button if you're excited for the stream content today. If you're watching on X, Twitter, or YouTube, follow, subscribe, and let's roll on into the topics that we're going to discuss in detail in just a moment throughout the stream today. So we got a comment right before the market opened this morning from White House economic advisor Hassett saying he expects the government to reopen this week, which looks like the market is taking in stride. So good news for the market. How sure of a sure thing is this? We'll ask George. And him saying this kind of getting in front of the president, not a typical thing to do unless it's a certainty. So looks probably like it's a pretty close to done deal. Marston's in the chat as well. Let's go. Marston said thumbs up all the time. Appreciate you hitting that like button. Thanks for being here again today. We're also going to get into, like I said, the Tesla earnings report that is set to take place this Wednesday after the bell, which we will actually be live probably just before they announce. So for those new folks just tuning in right now, we go live Mondays at 11 a.m. EST and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. EST. So we will be live just before this Wednesday Tesla earnings. So what's the most important thing for the stock to report on? Is it the actual numbers, the revenue and earnings for this quarter, or is it the FSD numbers, projections, and announcements? We will get into that and also take a look at the stock in Prospero. Then we have Affirm, which was added as a bear pick this week in our Sunday newsletter by George. So I want to ask him his thought process of why he added Affirm. I know there was a regional banking little bearish situation happening last week with Zion. So we'll give you a little background of what happened there. Maybe why Affirm business, being a lending company mainly, could be looking a little shaky because of that story we saw last week happening in regional banks. And we will go through all of that. Then I don't know if any of the apps, the trading platforms or just overall apps that you guys are using today are down, but there's a big AWS outage that's affecting a lot of companies, a lot of apps, a lot of services this morning. Disney Plus, Snapchat, Venmo. I think a lot of people, from what I saw on Twitter, were saying that Robinhood is having connection issues, not able to make moves. So portfolios are just melting up. I think even the Prospero I saw just tweeted about the market's moving higher, but we're unable to do anything, a lot of people. So yeah, a lot of stuff is down today. Probably not going to, when we've seen stories like this in the past from cybersecurity companies losing capability, it's really kind of, I felt like, benefited them in the long run because you see how far their tentacles spread within the industry. So maybe, Amazon's already huge to begin with, so probably no backlash from them from this, as long as they get it corrected quickly. Then we're going to go into trading cards and how they've performed over the last 20 years. Pretty jaw-dropping number in terms of average gains for Pokemon cards. And we got some pretty bullish data out of Target, actually, for their trading card business. So with this bullish data, who benefits the most? Is it the Targets, the Walmarts? Is GME going to get in on this mix of the trading card boom? And then, yeah, we'll just discuss that in detail and share with you the performance, which is dropping. We've got a few more topics to go through today. MSTR versus Coinbase. We haven't brought up either of them in a bit, so I wanted to bring them back up. The two leaders of crypto head to head. We'll see which one George likes more in the Prospero signals. MSTR, I think, has shown a little bit more weakness than Coinbase in the past several weeks and months. Let's see if we can check in on them both, if our platforms will let us do this. Nope, can't look at them right now. But I'm pretty sure in the Prospero app, Coinbase is looking much better in the signals. Then we're going to bring up two stocks that have been on and off Prospero favorites. So we have AppLovin down today after new regulatory scrutiny came underway. So we'll bring up AppLovin, talk about what's the latest on that stock after their meteoric rise. And then we have SMCI moving in the opposite direction, up 8% on the day after a rumor of an XAI order from them. So two at one point Prospero favorites back in the headlines today. And then, of course, at the end of the stream, as per usual, we will do the model portfolio update. So for the new folks, that is when we make live moves, adds and drops, longs and shorts to the Prospero model portfolio. That is currently trading about 73% of the market on an annualized basis. So you get some good value there from the stream. I would say let's take a look across the market today at our Mag 7 stocks, at Bitcoin, QQQ, but the app is not loading right now, so we'll have to look at Prospero app, because Prospero seems to be still active even though a lot of things are having trouble. So we'll take a look at the Prospero short-term bull list. So you guys can follow along with me. If you're watching on a computer and you have your phone handy, you can open up the Prospero app right now. When you open up the Prospero app, it brings you to the short-term bull list. That is like the home landing page when you just open the app. Right now, we're seeing Robinhood, Google, UNH, Palantir, Oracle, Intel, Alibaba, Micron, Apple, and Starbucks. Ooh, Starbucks is an interesting one to be seeing there. That's a big switch in their signals, I feel like. Yeah. Net option sentiment for Starbucks was as low as 27 on October 9th, so just under 2 weeks ago. Now all the way up to 76, so rising steadily. Interesting move in Starbucks. We'll have to keep an eye on them. This overall short-term bull list looks a lot more familiar. A couple, I don't think last week, I think the week before last, it was like all mining stocks and everything oriented to like the AI, energy, and infrastructure stuff. So it looks more familiar now. It looks like a lot of the stocks that have led are looking good in the signals. We can swipe over to the short-term bear list, which is also on the main page, and you just have to toggle over across the top. What do you know? Zion is at the top of the short-term list, which we will get into with our firm story. People are getting worried about some loans that they gave out, and I guess if they're ever going to get paid back. And you can see Zion's net option sentiment currently at 18. Upside breakout has gone from in the mid 50s, hit a low of 33, it looks like, 32. Downside breakout rising all the way as high as 68, now at 61. So Zion not looking great in the Prospero app. Then you have Booz Allen Hamilton, Stifel Financial, Prudential Financial, Petróleo Brasileiro, Petrobras, PBR, First Interstate Bank System, a lot of financial companies, Chart Industries, Roku, Lind PLC, and EXL Service Holdings. So a lot of good companies there to take a look at. But we are just waiting here for George now, and then we will get into all of our stories for the day. I see we've had already 500 people tune into the stream already, so thank you all for tuning in early. Get those comments typed up in the chat, ready to go, so we can get off to a fast start when George gets in here. Like I said, if you have any questions, we're happy to address them. We've been having great numbers on these streams, so I appreciate all of you guys coming back, watching these week after week. Hopefully you're finding a lot of value in the topics we cover on the stream, and seeing the Prospero signals highlighted on the stream. We're about to get into it all. I also want to, while we're just waiting here, I'll find this video. It was a clip from our last Monday stream. Let's see if I could get it for you all. George gave a great backstory about a lesson he learned the hard way back in the day when he was an early investor working at one of his first jobs, and kind of spurred the development of Prospero in the long run. And I thought it was a great clip, and he shared a lot of value and a lot of insight. Um, I'll get the link for this video right now, and I'll share it in our YouTube live chat. You guys could click on it if you haven't seen it, save it for later, for after the stream. Give it a watch. Here, I'm going to throw it in the chat right now. All right, should be going up. All right, yeah, there it went through. So you can give that a watch, give it a like, hear a little bit of the backstory, the hard lessons that George learned to help him develop the Prospero app, which we could check on net option sentiment and QQQ for the QQQ and SPY. JC comment. That was a great story by George. It was, right? It's really refreshing to hear such like a real and vulnerable story shared so openly, and the lessons that were learned are super valuable. So I think it's a great watch for people. Okay, so let's check in on the QQQ and SPY net option sentiment in the Prospero app right now. Oh, we have seen some rising in the QQQ and SPY net option sentiment. So at the end of last week, the combined values of these were, I believe, 2. And now we're seeing the QQQ at 9 and the SPY at 14. So not quite bullish yet. You guys know, longtime Prospero viewers, that our SPY and QQQ net option sentiment is average around, the bullish bull bear line is at 40. So still low levels, but rising much higher off of their floors of last week. Now with the SPY in double digits and the QQQ approaching it. So we will have to keep our eyes on that today as the market rallies. Maybe those signals will continue to rally, and maybe we'll see a big switch up in George's positioning. I think he went into this week positioned 3 bull longs, 4 bear longs in the model portfolio. One of the cool things though about the Prospero signals and the way George is positioned is it seemed like almost no matter the market direction, obviously there's some moves that happen that are, you can't predict, and either everything goes up, everything goes down. But over time, it looks like the stocks that he's shorting overall go down, stock that he's longing overall go up, even in like any market directions, which has been cool to see. Where is Georgie boy here today though? We are 15 minutes in. Anybody have George's number? I'm just kidding. We'll see if George is going to join us here. Otherwise, we might just have to get rolling on the topics with just a Stephen only show. Are you guys ready for that? Or maybe I can phone a friend, phone a viewer from the chat. You guys can join me live on stream. Maybe that's what we should do. It's interesting to see the SPY and the QQQ rising though, so much with the market moving. It's been like an uninvaded up move so far too today. We opened up and we just went more up so far. Wow, the VIX is getting demolished too. VIX peaked last Friday at a high of 28.78, and it's dropped a full 10 points down to 1872 this morning. So very, very big move for the VIX, upward and downward, really, like a roller coaster. Nick Chuchuat, love for Steven. Thank you, Nick. Nick is my hype man. I appreciate you. Nick, you might have to join the stream in a moment. I've got an update from George. Here we go. He's having camera issues today. So maybe George will be the one phoning in. Here, let me tell him back. No worries. Oh, you know what we should do? For George being late to the stream, everybody, you guys should bring up the Giants game yesterday. Oh my goodness. What happened there? I told him no worries, me in the stream just chatting. We're just catching up, right? Right, everybody? Just catching up. Anybody have any questions for me before George fixed the camera situation? JC Giants game was a disaster. The life of a Giants fan. You know what's crazy? So we could get off topic of finance for a bit here. I have a lot of Jets fans in my family as well, and they were all joining the bandwagon right as the Giants were looking like they were sailing to a victory. And I think the Jets fans joining our Giants bandwagon, they cursed us. They brought their Jets bad energy to the Giants fan base, but what a disaster. What a disaster of a game. It's okay. This year is not the year for our team anyway. Next year's the year. So let's get a good draft pick. JC said no doubt. All right, what can we look at in the Prospero app? I can just talk more about the Prospero app because I'm sure we've been growing a lot in terms of like our Twitter page, our YouTube channel, getting a lot more subscribers, a lot more X followers. So I can talk a little bit about just the app in general. I'm sure there's some new people um, in the stream. Jonathan asks, Stephen, how have you used the Prospero app? Do you use it for investing as well? Yeah, so I guess I could talk a little bit about the background of my experience with Prospero. So I feel like for me personally, when you come across a new investing tool, I am always like maybe overly skeptical. I think that protects you in the long run, especially when you're trying out new stuff. Hey George, welcome to the stream.
Hello, sorry everyone. Some camera problems.
No worries. I'll just finish answering Jonathan's question and then we'll roll right into it. Um, So I joined Prospero 2.5 years ago now, and I came in with an open mind, but definitely not an initial trust in like the signals. Like they kind of had to convince me in terms of, and that, and I would say like the only way that they could convince me is just seeing performance over time. And yeah, so being here for 2.5 years now, I check the app every day, multiple times a day during the market hours, and yeah, talking on the streams, following the moves. You know what's really impressed me the most is the Prospero signals highlighting stocks like SMCI and AppLovin, and now with these AI stocks that are moving, the mining stocks, the energy stocks, stocks that like I really never even heard of before, bringing them onto my radar, that has been the most impressive thing. And then I would say the other thing that's really impressive is like the highlighting of meta stock and its move, but then also like where a lot of people would think, oh, it's moved enough where I'll take profits, but the app keeps highlighting it and it just keeps going up. Like that confidence in a stock, I think is really key as well. So those are two things that have really impressed me. And yeah, Prospero signals are great. But that's enough about me and my use of Prospero. We could get into the regularly scheduled topics here. George, we are seeing the markets rip up into the green today. A very bullish start. QQQ and SPY net option sentiments are rising a bit. We just checked. I believe QQQ was 9 and SPY was 14. So off of those lowest levels that they have been at. I know we were feeling a little bit bearish entering the week. How are you feeling now, seeing how the market has moved to start today?
Well, it's more news cycle. We hear that the shutdown's probably going to end this week, right? And no surprise. You get that news, you see, the hedges, like we wrote about, those are being, pulled off. I think that's why we always kind of write the letters as we do, where, the nice things about our numbers is, they can change very quickly, right? So we're never like, oh, the market's definitely going to go down, because you never know if there's going to be a news event and the temperature is going to change on them. So I think that, this is very expected. I don't necessarily think the shutdown was going to last forever, but certainly the longer it lasted, the more risk it posed to the market. So I'd say this is very expected behavior. And I mean, the only other thing is it's kind of like, this is the market we're in now, where there's almost always like some announcement before the actual event that starts to move it in the other way.
So you are taking this headline out of Hassett as basically like a sure fact, excuse me, that the government will reopen this week. because when I heard it, I thought of only two scenarios really. Both of them, I feel like Trump has to approve because there's no way he would comment that and get ahead of Trump. But one, that it's basically a sure deal, and like our signals were picking up market weakness. The market has been weak. They want to get ahead of that and reassure the market. Or two, there's not been progress on the deal or getting the government reopened, and they want to position so the Democrats like are at fault if it doesn't happen, saying like the Republicans are like supporting it. Um, do you think either one of those is more likely, or do you see any other scenario, or do you just think this is basically a sure thing that the government will reopen?
Well, I mean, what do I always say? It's like it's a risk probability simulation, right? So like we're not seeing SPY and QQQ net option sentiment go to like 30 or 40, which is what I would expect if it was a sure thing, right? It's basically being looked at as, the same way I would look at it even without SPY and QQQ. Like it raises the probability that things are healthier.
So we have earnings kicking off in a real big way this week. The main event, Tesla, happening this Wednesday, which we will be live just before that from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. For anybody who wants to tune back in this Wednesday. But what are you looking for in this report? How do you think the market will react? Do you think the numbers that they report in terms of revenue and earnings this quarter matter? Or is it all FSD numbers, projections, announcements around it?
I mean, they do matter. We've seen, especially this year, like the sales um, absolutely be, an important input. But we've also seen them not. Like, I think at the end of the day, they can overcome uh, bad sales. But certainly, I think good sales and a strong, I think there's very little chance that Elon Musk doesn't like hype up all his people. So I think it's just a question of like, are we talking about, maybe something tepid, a little down, but then, really rallies on Musk speaking, or do we see, a surprisingly strong recovery in sales and then people getting even more excited about FSD and the stock ripping? I mean, I would say the second seems a little more likely, especially given where the market's temperature is today. I might have said differently if there was like an ongoing, shutdown, if the market didn't do better today. But yeah, I think that uh, you know, it's largely like the problems of uncertainty around Tesla are largely gone.
So it's been a while since we've done our Mag 7 overall rankings. You don't have to go through like all seven, but you just want to give like, maybe your one or two that you're most bullish on and least bullish on of the Magnificent Seven stocks at this point.
Um, I think I'm probably most bullish on. I mean, it's hard. I'll give three different things. I think Meta is always the safest one, but um, I don't necessarily think Meta is the one that's going to, have a crazy rally. Um, but I mean, for the others, it's probably like I think I gotta say Tesla because it's got that like that FSD upside is so big right now. I mean, I think Nvidia is there, but I think Nvidia has more, kind of China, like especially with this latest China flare up. I think there's too much geopolitical risk um with Nvidia. Um biggest down. I mean, Amazon's looking a lot stronger too lately, like surprisingly in our signals. Google's looking stronger. I mean, Apple's looking good too. Like, I mean, I don't think Apple's looking good as a company, but as a stock, it seems to be looking stronger. But still, like my feelings on Apple and innovation, I'm putting them at the bottom.
We have Mr. Matt in the X chat asking net ops, QQQ and SPY finally creeping up to double digits. Think it's because of the government reopening or any other catalyst you see?
Um, I mean, weren't we just talking about this? I don't think the government is officially reopening. But I think the net option sentiment, being healthier is absolutely in response to a greater likelihood that the government's reopening. Yeah.
Well, you brought up Amazon, and they are in the headlines today because there has been a major AWS outage that is affecting the ability for a lot of different services and apps to perform today. Disney Plus, Snapchat, Venmo, all down. I saw a lot of people are having trouble with Robinhood, I believe. I think the amount of AWS is just in everything, so I'm sure it's affecting a lot of different stuff today. Do you expect anything from this from Amazon in terms of, I don't know. Like, I feel like when we've seen this in the past for cybersecurity companies, it actually benefits them because people see the amount of companies that they are like involved with. But everybody knows that already for Amazon. So, what do you think?
I'm telling Matt he can come if he wants. You can send him the link. Um, I mean, I think that I don't know what's up with the outage. Um, but I do think it's kind of like interesting slash embarrassing for all these companies that they don't have their own servers. That like you don't necessarily need to be able to like run everything, but at least some basic servers to like keep things online, have basic functionalities for your app. Like, I mean, it's no surprise obviously with my opinion on Robinhood that they don't have these redundant systems, but like for a brokerage app, that's a really like that is again kind of a very irresponsible thing to not have they have pre and post market, right, to have markets open and not have access, not be able to move around your positions. That's pretty shitty. I mean, Robinhood could never piss off, for whatever reason, they could never piss off their customers. But, that business especially, I think it's embarrassing. And you should have ways of having basic functionality online in your own servers. It's kind of like, yeah, like massively irresponsible, or at least like a redundant cloud and like a different system. But I still think you should have some of your own servers. It's pretty shocking.
And JC was commenting WSJ site still down as well, but no like any long-term impacts from Amazon or AWS itself, you think, from this, right?
No, I mean, like maybe they'll like. I don't think anyone's gonna leave. If there was if there was another outage quickly, I think some people might start considering moving to other providers. Um, but yeah, like I don't I like I think people are so committed to their cloud environments, and at the end of the day, and the bigger the company you are, the more it's just like a cloud company really has to do something very bad for that to happen.
Who roots for Giants versus Jets? Matt in our Twitter comments.
Most
Well,
people, yeah, like they're the more popular team.
whether you're a Giants or a Jets fan, either way, you're a loser today. Both teams looked terrible yesterday. JC
Yeah,
saying big moving costs to move clouds. I guess once you're in a product, you're kind of stuck.
yeah, definitely.
So another stock I want to bring up on the stream today is actually a bear pick I saw in the newsletter yesterday. I will note I thought it was also interesting how the bull picks, they were all like super, I feel like, safe bull picks of like Meta, UNH, UUU, and one of the bear picks was Affirm, which I was a little bit surprised to see. Maybe I shouldn't be after the regional banking stuff that happened last week. Was that part of your decision making of putting them as a bear pick this week in our newsletter?
I mean, I don't think it's working out for me thus far. But yeah, they're up 4% today. But no, I mean, it was signal driven. That's what I was thinking. Like they did not look, they didn't look that strong in the signals. And that's really they were kind of like the largest cap company that looked bad in the signals. And then they were also a tech company. So yeah.
Get to your comment one question, Uzi. I just want to ask another follow up to this story. So we opened up the Prospero short term bull list this morning, and lo and behold, bear list, excuse me, bear list. And what was there? Zion Bancorp, which was kind of the main company mentioned in this regional banking fear that was brought up last week. The KRE index, which is a regional banking index, dropped 2% last week. Are you at all fearful of any spreading of bad loans or whatever's going on within the regional banks, or do you think it's more idiosyncratic with Zion and their business at the current moment?
Look, I mean, there's always a risk when you see these like regional banks. Like, there's always a cascading risk when you start to have anything get close to blowing up, because there's so many of these banks that are like, it's so incestuous. They're loaning each other money. There's like swaps, insurance, everything. There's always that risk. I don't really think um I don't really think we're really. I think the market has rallied too much. If we started to see like a 20% decline, like a bigger correction, like, yeah, I would start to say like, there's some systemic risk, because then you also have these assets that are declining. You have like, when the markets go down, that essentially decreases the asset base of the people that store their money there as well. It's just a big drain on the economy. Um, but uh, I think it's ultimately too healthy. And you have the aspect of, we have like a very kind of active protectionist government. So I think this government would step in very fast to support, any banks if there were failures. So I'm not too concerned about that. But that being said, there's always cascading risk in terms of any bank failure. We've seen that time and time again. So it would be silly to ignore it. But I think right now, especially given the market rally, I'm not too concerned.
And so Zion reports after the close today, so I'm sure they'll be pressed on, if their business is okay at this current moment. We have Uzi Obi asking on X. Amit just wrote an article on Bitminer and Duolingo. Any thoughts on either of those?
I don't know if there's like some kind of tie that I'm missing. Um, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess someone thinks Ahmed is kind of funny. I don't know who Ahmed is. But I took a look at these. I mean, Duolingo is, I think, an interesting stock. It tends to look good in our signals. I mean, it's very popular social right now. It's a little lower in net option sentiment than it has been, but it's got 90 upside. I think it's become pretty undervalued. I think there's a lot of concern about like automation and AI and how it could affect the business, but it is still like, you know, more and more as AI, like as I hear about venture and AI, like a lot of people think of like value in the sense of like, you're only as good as like the usability of the product, the size of your customer base. And from that perspective, I think that, you know, they look undervalued, and our signals have liked them, especially lately. But the other side for that is, I do think those risks are very real. I think they're overblown, so that's what creates the value. But you could be dealing with an intense downside situation in Duolingo if someone really starts to bring a legitimate competitor. I think there was the first freak out about like Apple's translator AirPods and everything, and like, yeah, that could stop you from learning a language, but it's not as if people are still going to want to learn languages, and I think Duolingo is still the best place to actually learn a language if you want to. So I think that's where you kind of see the overblown risk and the value. In terms of Bitminer, um I like it's looked good in our signals. Like, I just want to take a new, like one more quick look. Um, I mean, it looks good. Also, oddly enough, oh no, that's Duolingo. I was looking at it. I was looking at Bitminer. Duolingo's 39 social, 86 net option sentiment. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. Duolingo's on a bit of an upswing in net option sentiment, and Bitminer is on a downswing, but it's looking very good from a social sentiment. And I always like to look at this. So Bitminer is 85 net option sentiment, 90 upside, 97 social, but it's on a downswing in net option sentiment. But for these crypto stocks, I always like to get a baseline and look at everything else. Coinbase is 100 net option sentiment, 88 upside. And that net option sentiment is on an upswing while Bitminer is on a downswing. Let's just check out MSTR. MSTR is 59.72. I think that's an interesting data point. If you're thinking about getting crypto, like, the raw crypto exposure through it, like, it looks like I'd recommend Coinbase, but Bitminer definitely looks way better right now than MSTR.
So I have a follow up for you on Duolingo. I'm wondering if it's a possibility for them to kind of get the same type of revenue from AI, like kind of like a Reddit type of situation for the data. Like maybe in the future, when people are producing whatever, any service or product online, maybe if you're a company, you literally can just put in every single language that exists. If AI becomes advanced, maybe they're using Duolingo data for that. Do you see? Because I think a lot of people think the risk to Duolingo is AI at this point, but do you think it could actually be a benefit similar to like how Reddit sells the data in the future?
Like selling data about people learning a language? No.
No,
No,
maybe
it's
they
not
just
as
have the data set and the database of like every language. So like if you could look up like if you're a company, you could look up like any word in any language of like the word in English and then maybe produce your products or services like in every language online.
no. There's already like open source stuff for that. You wouldn't really want to pay Duolingo, and that's not a particularly complicated task. It's that you can get it like even if you don't want to build like the open source version of that. There's so many um there's so many like paid services that it's just not that much money. I mean, sure they can do it, but it's not going to make up for their core business um declining. There's not tons of money in that.
It's interesting that we got into MSTR and Coinbase because I was actually going to ask you about that today, but I can cross it off the list now. I noticed kind of Michael Saylor, I feel like he's been quiet recently, and MSTR has been lagging a bit. So wanted to get your thoughts, but you said Coinbase looks better at the moment still, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say Coinbase would be my preferred exposure. Bitminer looks, if you want just like more pure cryptocurrency exposure in a stock, Bitminer looks good. I mean, might as well, like now that this is a separate topic, I might as well check on like Riot and Mara, which haven't looked as good lately. Riot 74 upside, 84 in option sentiment. Let's check out Mara. Mara's 34 upside, 85 net option sentiment. I mean, but like Cypher Mining, Iron, those are both like, let me check on Iron. That's been looking really good lately. 90 upside, 84. Cypher and Iron look very similar. Yeah,
CLSK as well. I feel like a lot of people were mentioning recently.
that's not looking as good. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have dropped Cypher. Like, but the market was hemorrhaging. I mean, and that's what makes this market so tough, right? I do think we dropped it for the right reasons on Friday, but the shutdown ended and it rallied.
It is interesting though. We're talking about all these like quote unquote Bitcoin miners in our crypto topic, but the main thing for these businesses now is their AI data center capability, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of demand through crypto, right? But they've expanded.
Do you think that's any like black swan risk for Bitcoin if a lot of these companies like fully stopped mining Bitcoin and switched over to providing the data center for AI companies? I'm not sure how that would affect like the demand or price for Bitcoin, but I could only assume that it would not be beneficial for it.
I mean, what we talked about in the meeting like in the letter last week, like power and uh um compute is going to become scarce. So, um yeah,
Is that
it
is that the limiting factor then for these companies, basically power and compute?
um yeah. No, I mean, the power and compute aspect of it, like that's going to create demand that could potentially have like people paying more for data centers than they would for mining crypto, right? I think that's what is inflating the value of these things.
So we have a good question from our YouTube chat from No Ordinary Experience. What does it mean when upside is high, net options is high, and downside is high all at the same time?
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen like a company that has um like 80 or 90 upside have anything higher than like 50, maybe 60 downside. So it's never going to be that high, but it just means that there's elevated risk, right? It means that there's like, volatility is a real thing and it's not uncommon. Like I'd say that the stock that consistently has high upside and high downside is Tesla. And that makes sense. We're visualizing risk, right? And that stock, we've seen it go different ways a lot of times. Depending on even things like the news cycle, things like that. So yeah, I mean, you're just seeing that's just a visualization of risk is all that it is. And yeah, I mean, you could see I think when I looked at I think it was Duolingo that had high upside and low downside. And right, that makes sense because it's already at such a depressed value. So yeah, it's got upside, it's got lower downside. It doesn't mean that it's going to go up necessarily. It just means that it has like less downside risk than say Tesla that we see make, that we saw at like 225 not too long ago.
So I came across the story and I'm interested to see how GME is looking in the Prospero signals because sales of collectible trading cards like Pokemon and sports are surging. Target's reporting a 70% rise and they increased their expectations for over 1 billion in annual revenue. And they gave this data point that if you took from the end of August, so maybe some of these prices are down because they went back a few months, but the performance since 2004 of Pokemon cards is 3,821% gains, according to Card Ladder and reported by Wall Street Journal. So this has to be bullish for GME, no? Or are Target and Walmart the ones that are getting the most benefit from this?
No, I mean, I think it's definitely bullish for them, but I think you have to remember that um we're still not talking about very big revenues for GME. Like, I mean, I think it's bullish for GME just because everybody wants to love GME, but like the problem is they're still just not a very good business. They're like, I think they're a very hot thing, and like for Walmart, whoever, like they just like um they want to have uh they want to have the headlines, right? They want to just like get, some of that magic that GME has. And I looked at it, it's got like 65 upside, 68 not option sentiment. At the end of the day, um, it's not like it's not that good, right? And the business isn't that good. And I wish like it's our obligation to report on stocks that have potential. Um, and so GME is always going to have potential because of the retail attention, but it's just not a very good stock. I wish people would move on. It's not a very good company. I wish people would just move on and put their money in something, like any of the ones we've been covering lately, like, Cipher Mining or ASTS um or UUU. Like if retail like put the same energy into one of those stocks, it would go even more bananas than they already are. They'd make crazy amounts of money, but instead they're investing in this project that is going to be much more about the social energy than anything about the company, and that's just not ultimately the best use of time. But everybody should spend their time how they want.
Now, here's another aspect of the story I'm interested in. So, we're seeing this continued push into technology across, all areas of life in the human experience. With the universe equal and opposite force for everything, it seems like the human condition, you get kind of bored when you're always around one thing. And we're seeing this resurgence of like physical products with these trading cards. Do you expect with everything becoming more technical that this is not like a fad. Like we will continue to see people also take more interest in physical products, tools, maybe things from the past, or do you think this is kind of just like a craze and it'll wind down?
People taking interest in physical products.
Well, the resurgence of interest in these trading cards and the nostalgia for like a physical card, which is almost like, why would you even want that in the world where there's all of these crazy entertaining things online that are like way more value like adding or entertaining. um you know, the fact that people are turning back to that more boring quote unquote product, it
No,
leads me to believe that
I
they're
think it's a
craving
real
it.
thing. I think people will. I think the more digital things people like, that's what I always thought was so stupid about um what were those like crypto art things? I can't even remember them. NFTs.
NFT.
Like that's what was always so stupid about those because everybody's like, "Oh, like I'm gonna pay millions of dollars for this piece of artwork that's an NFT." And it's just like it's just mine. It has like a unique QR code, but it's like, yeah, but I could print that. Like anyone can print it. Anyone can take a screenshot. It's not that unique, right? Like, but it is cool to own like a physical thing, right? You can show it to someone. You can put it in a frame. Like, I think that part, um, you should never underestimate that part.
So we got to bring up AppLovin on the stream today. AppLovin was red to start the day, still red right now, but coming back off the lows. So they are facing fresh regulatory heat after short sellers allege data privacy misconduct. So we've heard about these types of things before, but now they're coming back at them for it, and it's affecting the stock today. And the scrutiny is surrounding its product called Array. So an update there for everybody. Um, how are you feeling about Apple at this point now that these issues or people coming at them from the regulatory aspect are persisting for them?
I mean, we saw upside. Like we haven't really been into AppLovin because we saw upside go to like 60, right? And I think that is um that's a very real thing, right? Like I think that's what's so nice about the signals. Like I don't have a strong opinion on how persistent that plan could be, um, except my opinion that uh institutions are less bullish in it in the long-term markets, right? I think that's why it's so nice that we scale things 0 to 100, right? Because um we have a really very real data point that, yeah, maybe just as many people are playing it in the short term, they want to play the upside, but the people that are in the long-term options markets looking for real long-term structural health, like they're not as bullish on AppLovin anymore, and I think that's a rational reason.
Now, I think this is the thing that people, if you're still a shareholder in AppLovin, really want to know at this moment is, and it's relating to the Prospero signals. So, like SMCI story, where the signals were bullish on it for its entire rise, but there was an entire plummet for it and our signals were also bearish. But do you see that as a potential outcome for AppLovin? Is it can it be setting up for that type of scenario here? Our signals are pretty not good. Like it has a net option sentiment of 28 at the moment. Um, so would you be completely out of this company until you saw the signals come back? Do you think it can possibly go through a similar, outcome as SMCI did, or do you think there's more meat on this company and it's not going to go through that type of drop?
I mean, oh damn, it is a 28 net option sentiment. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, there was definitely some good warnings here. No, at 28 net option sentiment, I'd be closer to shorting it than going long, but neither. Yeah, it's like I would say the risk is too high, right? Look, the market's really it was like a darling in our signals, and it's not the same.
And I say that because it's still, it has pulled back, but it had such big gains. It's still kind of near, quote unquote, the highs. So, you don't have to be in this company if the signals are terrible. Just FYI, I think I have PTSD from SMCI and what happened at that company, which we also have a topic for, which is actually in the reverse situation today. But before I bring up SMCI on the stream, let me just tell everybody that this is actually the last topic we have today. So, one last call for the comments. We've gotten a lot of comments today. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me for the first 15 minutes, everybody. Hopefully, you were with me then. You're still here now. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, let us know in the chat. We'll answer them before the switchover. Like the stream if you've enjoyed it so far. If you're watching on X or YouTube, follow, subscribe. But we will get into this last topic here. So SMCI is up 8%. So the roller coaster of SMCI continues. The rumor is, which is unconfirmed, that they have a $900 million XAI order. And that is what is leading the stock to rise. So if that order came through, do you think that's a big changer for them and their business? And even that connection there, maybe future potential more so than this order? And just how do you feel about hearing that news story become a rumor?
I mean, it's like it should be a bull event that turns into a bigger bull event if it happens. I mean, this is what's happening with OpenAI now, right? Everything like any rumored like a lot of these like we talk about this like the incestuous AI deals. Um,
Not OpenAI, XAI.
oh, XAI.
Yeah.
Um, Same thing. I'm saying these big AI deals, like it's all the same. I mean, OpenAI would be bigger, but that's what's happening. Like we're seeing this circular thing where like investments are announced, orders are announced. More money is coming in. Because those orders, those relationships, they increase the valuation. Like it's these are bull events, but it's just what we keep talking about. Eventually it's going to create so much overvaluation, or these orders are not going to be filled. It's not going to happen. But yeah, it's crazy.
Well, actually, bringing up OpenAI made me think of an interesting thought of like, well, now that SMCI, if this is confirmed and they're hooking up with XAI, we know the battle, the feud that Sam Altman and Elon Musk have. Are we going to see companies have to choose like OpenAI or XAI, or do you think the business world will not care and will just continue to work with either company and it won't matter? Or do you think that feud is so strong that we'll see companies have to like pick sides who they're going to go with, XAI or OpenAI?
No, I mean, I think like I don't think it's due to a feud. I think it's just due to the fact that it's like it's easier to deal with. You don't want to be dealing with different. I mean, you can create a meta model, deal with different providers, like that you might use both. Like it might be easier to just use one, but um I don't think that uh the feud is going to be the driver of like where if people are going to use like one or both. Like as much as they might have this rivalry, um it's not um the rivalry is not going to dictate. Like none of them are going to be mean to a potential client or be like, well, it's us or them. They're both smart enough business people not to do that.
Mario's comment actually made me crack up. That's so funny. What a good comparison.
I
We
know, I
also have
saw that
another
too.
question. Hannon Jones, what trading app would you recommend currently? I am on Robinhood.
um Fidelity would be my number one. Schwab is like a little like, they're a little less good from like a moral standpoint, but they're still pretty, functionality and morality. Like Fidelity is max morality and great functionality. Like, but at the end of the day, you have to think about what works for you. Like some people just really like the way the options are laid out for them in Robinhood. And like I can't begrudge you your usability, but you also have to see the other side of that. If you put your money in Robinhood, you're funding a system that hurts retail investors more. So it's just one of those things. It's like I mean I think recycling is a bad example because it's kind of bullshit. But it's like what they tell you recycling is, right? You could be part of a better thing and like be part of the solution, not a problem. Maybe I would actually say like not recycling. I would say eating meat. Like the global meat industry is just like shitty. Like but you can feed into it and perpetuate it, or you can be a small part of what is a larger solution. um i do think I do think the big difference I would say about Robinhood is like at least the meat industry is kind of hurting everybody like equally. Some of it's like water stealing, knocking down land. It hurts a lot of people. Like the distribution of that hurt is pretty evenly distributed. But the worst part about Robinhood is that like disadvantage is being way unevenly distributed to retail investors, right? Because they exist to make institutions money. So the better the situation is for retail, the more they're going to ultimately like kill that and help their real customers, the institutions. So I think that that's the difference. And yeah, everybody's just, you might think it's an easier product to use, but you have to decide you have to see what the consequences are and decide if that's worth it for you. I mean, I don't think Webull is very moral. I just use them for research. When I did trade, I use Schwab, but I mean, if I made a new account now, it's been years since I did that. I would probably use Fidelity, not Schwab, because I know more now. But yeah, if you can stomach if you can make Fidelity work for you, that's what I would recommend, because the Fidelity is most likely to be on your side if shit hits the fan. It's not just like, you might at least want to have a Fidelity account with your key long positions, even if you don't trade options, just because you're going to be able to exit those long positions if there's trouble. They're gonna put their customers first.
Well, I've heard the Robinhood, your opinion on it a lot, but that's the first time I've heard the meat comparison. That's a good one because I just instantly thought, well, steak is so tasty. I don't want to stop eating steak. And Robinhood, everybody's like, oh, well, Robinhood's platform's so easy. I don't want to start using Robinhood. So it's really a good comparison.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to stop eating steak, but I have actually cut down. I've recently switched to more fish. I'm not perfect at it.
Have you?
Um, yeah, but it's better for you too. It's
Well,
not
George,
just
I am starting a
it's not
diet.
just
I'm
that.
having salmon every night, so I will join you in our seafood eating.
There you go.
If any of our chat wants to join us, have some more fish. There you go. I use Fidelity and they work well, said Mario. +1 on Fidelity. Fidelity said JC. So yeah,
Be
that was
clear,
a
Big Salmon is not funding this live stream.
no, 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 no. Local salmon farmers. Let's go. Um, it's time to do our switch over though. So we'll catch up with
Before
George.
we do,
Okay.
I just want to you're gonna be hearing the spiel from me a little more in the next 10 days. There's 10 days left in the crowd fund. Um, a lot of you love what we do. Want to support it. I'm grateful to everyone that's done it. We're still a little far off from our goal, right? We set that goal because like a lot of the stuff we wanted to do, a lot of our roadmap items, we are not going to be building if we don't get further up. Now, we could potentially raise from other places. We will do that. But I just want to let everybody know, like, if you have a roadmap item that you want to see built, tell your friends about the crowd fund. We're getting into crunch time. The more momentum that we get as we go into it, the better off we'll finish and the more people that'll kind of pile in. So think about that. Think about telling people about it. It's the better we do, the better products we'll be able to build for you. And you all know, you've watched us, we do really build products that are designed to help people. So if you want to see us help more people, think about telling people about the crowdfund.
And I also posted it in the live chat, so you could click on the link right there for anybody who's curious. I'll post it to the X one while we're doing our switch over too. But we'll catch up with you on the other side, George. All right, everybody, stick around with me. George will be right back. Let me see if I can grab this link for our viewers watching on X of the Prospero crowdfund. One moment, everybody. All right, yep, I got it. I'm going to comment it in our Twitter X live feed as well. Can we invite someone to the app directly from the app? Ooh, a lot of questions just came through. All right, let me comment this on our live stream on X, and then I'll be right with you all. All right, so if anybody's watching on X, we just set the Prospero link there as well. So you could click right on that, check it out. Can we invite someone to the app directly from Prospero? I don't think you can. Let me see. I've never tried to do this. It's a good idea though. I mean, you could probably just grab the link for it from the App Store, I would imagine, and share it like in a text or whatever, or grab the website link and you could download it right from the website. That is a good idea, though, JC, who was asking about can you share the app directly from Prospero. Wish crowdfund had more affordable entry point. Too much for me. Yeah, I think there's some strict rules. Actually, at no ordinary experience, I feel like typically you'll see even like way higher minimum investing. The private investing world is a little bit of a gate. What is it? A walled garden. I feel like there's a lot of restrictions for everyday people, but I think Prospero tried to do their best. $300 is what's the minimum entry? 300 or 250 is pretty low, I think, from what you'll find across the private investing world. It's a yes, a walled garden for most people. I want to check also before we do our switch over on the QQ and SPY net option sentiment, so we can have the latest numbers before George joins us back. If you haven't seen this before, we're going to do the model portfolio update, which I will pin. So George is going to make live moves in the model portfolio, adding, dropping positions based on what we are seeing in our signals. The QQQ is at 2 currently. The SPY is at 5. So we've seen a little bit of a softening in the signals. We saw them in the double digits for a brief moment this morning at the beginning of the stream. The markets are still mostly up across, well, all up across the board, not really trending any higher. They've kind of leveled off, it looks like. The Russell is the only one that's kind of given back some. It was approaching 2% on the day, currently at just under 1.5% gains. Most of the markets, though, Dow, SPY, QQQ, just kind of trending sideways at the moment. So we'll see what George decides to do. By the way, everybody, this model portfolio update is shared for free on the streams, but it is a paid newsletter. So that's why you got to stick around till the end of the streams every day, so you get that free content. I hope you've enjoyed so far. We've had a ton of viewers. I was peeking at our live viewers on YouTube. We were hitting 40 live viewers at one point, which I have never seen before. So thank you all for watching today. We had a very good audience, and you guys were active in the chat. So it was a fun discussion after we got off to a little bit of a delayed start here. Let's see if we can look around the markets now and see how everything is doing at the moment. I think I saw Apple this morning was up the most out of the Mag 7. Yes. Oh my gosh. So we're seeing Apple up 4.5% today. Oh man, I should have. There's got to be a news story about Apple. I must have missed it. What's going on with Apple stock up 4.5% here? We're seeing Amazon in the green, Google green, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla green. Let's check out Nvidia. Question for the lab. Is there a legend for the color coding of the sector's growth tables? So George, JC is asking about the colors that when we look at the sectors and cap growth tables, what the color codes mean.
I mean, isn't this like universal, like green good, red bad, orange neutral?
I was pretty sure that's. He was asking if there was a legend, so I guess there's not. But George will be our legend for the sector.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
cap.
I'm
I
saying
think
I
it just
didn't
means
think
if
we
they're up or
needed a
down, right?
legend. I thought that was like I thought we were talking in like universal terms here. Okay. All right. Where are we with QQQ and SPY and option sentiment?
JC said George is the legend. We are seeing QQQ at 2, so back down to the bottom, and SPY at 11.
Okay. 2. Okay.
You know what I didn't mention, but was interesting when we looked at the bull list in the beginning of the stream, Starbucks was there, which I was very surprised to see.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, let's look at this. I forgot to update the portfolio yesterday before I sent the newsletter. And it becomes harder to do after such a mistake.
Growth is back on the menu. Not surprising. It seems the more stable the geopolitical situation, the more that growth gets bought. Seems like growth might be a pretty good trade if you believe we are heading towards an actual government resumption.
I was like, what's the opposite of a shutdown? I guess resumption. A government resumption.
So No Ordinary Experience is asking, can we see the screen you're sharing on the app? No, this is, you guys only have access to, right? We're sharing George's live screen right now on the stream.
Yeah, this is like how I build reports and I do. If you're ever curious about any of these numbers, like that's what our Discord's for. I'm always like, hey, I can get you this table or I can get you a momentum score or anything. Like that's the beauty of our Discord. You have access to me and I'll get you whatever I can. We want to like really build the community out there.
We divested tech, but looks like it is time to add there and look for bears in utilities and probably real estate. We got some long exposure there last week.
Okay. No, not blue. Okay, now it's time to do this, but we also need to do if nobody has access, the model portfolio 1 stopped working, so we're using this. Everybody that had access to model portfolio 1 should have access to model portfolio 2, so it should be a non-issue, but wait, what is? Oh no, we want that. What is up with these? There is something going on with these. I don't need a million financial services things. Sorry. It's telling. Although Prudential's just like. Did I want to do this? I don't know. Yes, I did. Okay. What I did not do yet is this. One long. Oh, God. 41 long, 48 short. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, I want to correct that a little bit. But everything's pretty good with that portfolio. So I'm not. Wow. Beyond has max max momentum score. What the hell happened with Beyond?
They heard you crushing the meat industry.
Yeah, exactly. They're ready. All right, so we just have a few of these longs to get out of. Hopefully my life is easy and no, I want this. Oh, that's nice. We closed our Beyond positions. Can you look at some of these names, Stephen? WD, PRI, CB, they're not. Do you see them?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. All right. I'll do this going into earnings. Why not? We'll take some of this finance stuff. I've been seeing those at the. Oh, we don't need tons, actually. Let's see how many longs we're going to add. Okay, Reddit. Wait, what? That's pretty shocking. I don't know if I posted those. Yeah. Diageo has a 10 gain. These are some weird momentum score numbers. Yeah, there's some weird names here. Get a little more like different technology exposure. Yeah, and then I think we have. Take broad too. I'll just get some. Okay, I feel good about this. that. All right, that's done. I think, well, while we're here, I might as well just make a screener because it's going that way. All right. Well, I guess I'll look because I have nothing else to do. Perfect. All right, let's see when it pushes. Also, I want to just do while we're waiting. What's going on with Reddit today? Is there any news events around Reddit? Why is it so momentum driven today? Oh, it might have found like a nice little bottom on that chart. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much. I see a price target raise. That's about it.
I like Reddit. I'm gonna see what some other stocks. All right, did we push growth bull? Yep, we did. Now we can push that. And are there any questions?
I don't believe so. Just no ordinary experience saying this was great.
Thanks for
you.
coming. All right.
All right. Jinx, no questions. I hope you guys all enjoyed the stream. We'll be back Wednesday at 3 p.m. EST. We will see you all then. Happy trading, and see you in just a few days. Thank you, George. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.